The 20th century didn't begin with war, but it didn't take long before we got there. After a century of relative peace from 1815 to 1914, Europe was about to erupt into a conflict that would reshape the world. But how did we get there? What tensions were bubbling beneath the surface? And how did nations like Germany, Russia, and even Japan set the stage for the Great War? For much of the 19th century, Europe avoided large-scale war. The Congress of Vienna in 1815 established a delicate balance of peace following Napoleon's defeat, ensuring that no one nation could dominate the continent. But this peace wasn't perfect. Beneath the surface, nationalism, imperial rivalries, and industrial competition were growing. And so were the armies and weapons that could turn small disputes into catastrophic war. The so-called long peace wasn't really a peace. It was a long fuse, slowly burning towards August 1914. Germany didn't even exist at the time. It wasn't unified until 1871. But when it emerged, it came out swinging. Under the leadership of Otto von Bismarck, Germany quickly became the dominant power in Europe. And Germany dominated economically, militarily, and industrially. Bismarck's diplomacy kept the peace, but his alliances were complicated, involving Austria-Hungary, Russia, and Italy. After his dismissal in 1890, the young and ambitious Kaiser Wilhelm II took over Germany, and German foreign policy became more aggressive. Germany started building a navy to rival Britain's, pursued colonies in Africa and Asia, and challenged France and Russia on the continent. This made it a target surrounded by hostile powers. Germany's rise upset the balance of power that was established in 1815 and created a dangerous mixture of fear and competition among the European powers. By the way, Europe wasn't the only place experiencing rapid change. In the East, two nations, Russia and Japan, were expanding their ambitions and clashing in ways that would have global consequences. Russia's sprawling empire that stretched across Siberia was modernizing but struggling. Its defeat in the Russo-Japanese War in 1905 over the Chinese territory of Manchuria shocked the world. It was the first time that an Asian power defeated a European nation in a major conflict. Japan, meanwhile, had transformed itself. In just a few decades, it went from an isolated feudal society to an industrial powerhouse and challenging European dominance in Asia. This newfound power made Japan a key player in the global chessboard before 1914. Russia and Japan's rise in the East shaped global politics, complicated alliances, and introduced new rivalries. By the early 20th century, Europe was divided into two rival camps, the Triple Alliance and the Triple Entente. These alliances were meant to deter war, but they also guaranteed any conflict would quickly escalate. Adding to this was the dangerous mixture of militarism, nationalism, and imperialism. Nations glorified their militaries, pursued colonies abroad, and promoted nationalist ideologies that made compromise seem like weakness. Europe wasn't just ready for war. It was waiting for an excuse to start one. If Europe was the powder keg, the Balkans were the spark. The Ottoman Empire, which had lasted for about 600 years and was once dominant in the Balkans, was collapsing, and new nations were forming there, like Serbia, Greece, and Bulgaria. Now Serbia wanted to dominate the Balkans. Backed by Russia, they wanted to form what was called Yugoslavia, a Slavic republic in the Balkans. This put them into collision course with the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, who also wanted to dominate the Balkans and controlled millions of Slavs. The Balkans became a flashpoint where nationalism, alliances, and imperial ambitions collided. The assassination of the heir to the Austrian-Hungarian throne, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, in Sarajevo on June 28, 1914, was the immediate trigger of World War I. But the war didn't happen because of one event. It happened because Europe was already on edge. Austria-Hungary, backed by Germany, saw the assassination as an excuse to crush Serbia. Russia, protecting Serbia, mobilized its forces. Germany, fearing encirclement by France and Russia, struck first with the Schlieffen Plan, a plan that was meant to knock out France first and then deal with Russia next. But the plan failed. When Germany implemented the plan, they had to invade neutral Belgium, which threatened Britain. And now Germany faced three major powers: Britain, France, and Russia. What began as a regional crisis quickly spiraled into a global catastrophe, a war unlike anything the world had seen before. In 1914, the world was on the brink. Europe's balance of power had collapsed, its alliances failed, and its leaders gambled on war to solve their problems. The result would be 4 years of unimaginable destruction and the beginning of the modern age. But this wasn't the end. The peace that followed World War I treated Germany badly. Germany lost territory, was forbidden from having a military, and had to pay reparations, war damages, to France, Britain, and the United States. This all but guaranteed the rise of a person like Adolf Hitler, who Germans saw as a savior. In our next video, we'll talk about the rise of fascism in Europe and how Adolf Hitler came to power, and how all that led to World War II.